Well, hey friends, welcome back into the Leadership Sandbox. It is our part 2 in our series talking all things hats. Those hats that we put on ourselves and carry those titles or those labels with us, those hats that other people put on us. And sometimes we don't know how to step into that or wear it with confidence. And today I've got Kendall Peterson back in the sandbox with me. And Kendall is a longtime friend. I'll pull out the friend hat for that. Someone who has come through a lot of coaching and training with the Leadership Sandbox and just seen such growth. I have seen such growth with her. So, Kendall, I'm excited that you're back in the sandbox for this great conversation that we're going to be talking about. So, you're wearing the hat, but who put it on you? All right. Owning your role without losing your mind. Welcome into the sandbox, Kendall.
Thank you.
What are you excited about for today's conversation?
Well, I'm excited because I think that the hats that we wear, the different roles that we take on in thinking about like who put them on you and are you stepping up to the plate in that. I think about like my personal journey around this, and yeah, I think there's a lot to be said here.
Well, there is, because, and we were talking about this, that when you went into your manager role, and I don't have a manager hat, but that's a leader, right? When you took your position, you were given the title of leader. And would you say that you really understood what being a leader in your role was, what the requirements were, and what that was going to take to really truly lead people?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I think that I had a very big blending together of wanting to be the leader, but really more wearing the friend hat. And like when I think about like the why behind that, like why was I doing that? It did have a lot to do with the uniqueness of the community that I work in and wanting to be viewed as someone who was here to help and who was capable of the work and that sort of thing. And so those two hats were very, very blended for me. And a lot of that too, I just want to mention, like, it came from fears that I created within myself
Mm,
that they weren't actual, it was not real. The fears that I had, it wasn't real, but I very much perceived it as being real. And so that blending of the hats is something that I've absolutely experienced and gone through.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you did what I call the freeder, right? You were a friend with the leader as the under, like you were a freeder trying to do both. Didn't want to let go of the friend to try to be the leader, but didn't necessarily see yourself of how do you be the leader, and understanding it's not about letting go of one over the other. It's dangerous though when you do freeder, because you're leading with friend and the leader gets muted when that happens. And I think what is really important is that that by title, right? The position that you have put the leader hat on you,
Yep.
and you didn't necessarily know or see what that entailed. And then there were expectations that were for you as a leader, but you were friends with this community and you were friends with people and you played softball with them, and there were things that you did that the friend hat overrode. And so when I say, but who put it on you? Well, this one, the friend you've always had, that's something you held on to.
Right.
Safety, right? It was comfortable. This one, the leader hat, was new for you, and someone else put it on you, but you didn't see yourself in it. And the reason that I wanted to talk about it from this perspective is that we can get these titles and we can get these opportunities to step in these roles that have a different meaning based on our past experience. So if you didn't see yourself as leader, but you knew you were a manager, well, I don't have a manager hat. Well, you're still a leader as a manager, right? Your friend hat became the dominant one.
Right.
And that's where, for you, knowing what I know, that is what caused turmoil for you, inner and outward as well, right?
Right.
So I think then what I would say is, or my question for you then is, what did you do to stop being a freeder, right? And really own the boss hat, the leader hat, while not sacrificing your friend? Because we don't want to forget about our boss hat too, because that comes into play.
That's right. I think that the key was owning it, right? Owning it to myself that like, hey, this is problematic. The way that I'm choosing to lead is problematic. Like recognizing that there's a problem is number one, right? I also think that there's 33 to 35 people on my team at any given time, and the communication, it was very much lacking. And so that was also part, like recognizing, coming to terms, I'm like, I not wearing the boss hat, not putting on the leader hat, there is a lack of clarity here. Folks are confused, they're not feeling communicated with, so therefore people are not feeling like they're a true important member of this team. And so I think that I needed to communicate. That was number one, is communicate out to the team, like, hey, I recognize that this isn't working, right? The freeder, as you said, I like that too, by the way. That is not serving its purpose here, making it again. And I talk about values because values are super important to me. So just naming my values to the team as I'm owning to them that there are parts that need to change about the way that I'm leading.
Right.
And then explaining to the team like what that might look or feel like moving forward. And also just letting them know like I'm open to conversation, I'm open to feedback, like I recognize I'm not going to do this perfectly, and I really would like your feedback so that I can self-improve. So I think with most leadership opportunities, the willingness to grow needs to be present, and also sorting out like which hat are you wearing, because I think that like though I wore the friend hat, which obviously had some impact, I think that if I think of the same situation, if you were to come into this situation and just have on your compliance hat and that's the only hat that you show, that it wouldn't be perceived well. And in an early learning setting, taboo, and then in a tribal community on top of it, like that just won't work. And I could tell you that, and I'm sure others could tell you that as well.
It won't
So
work.
it won't work. And so I think that there could have been a more even balance of coming and showing like, hey, I'm capable of being this leader, and just showing, having the friend hat occasionally. But for me, like we mentioned, like the friend hat was just the most dominant hat. And then probably second to that was the avoider hat. And then my values hat, like, yeah.
Well, it's funny you brought up the avoider hat, and it's a new hat coming into the sandbox because it is that creative avoider that that when we don't want to take on leader or boss, and I don't know how to let go of friend, right? Or I'm afraid that if I go into boss mode, which is what I really know that I need to go into mode, and I really got to get direct, or I got to go into leader mode, like the mode, the mindset of locking into the hat. And even if I visualize, oh my gosh, this is the hat that I need to wear, I can be a creative avoider to avoid that so I can stay in my comfort zone. It really is all about stretching comfort zones, but it also is the piece about owning your role. And as you know, you've heard me say, and I've talked about it on the podcast, clarity is kindness, thanks to Dr. Henry Cloud. That was like so simply put. In one of his posts that he did, I don't know, 2 years ago. And I'm like, you know what? That is really true. Clarity is absolute kindness. And our people need us to be clear. And I say need, we have a responsibility to be clear. But when I'm muddying the water as a freeder and nobody knows what to expect from me, and then the friend comes off and I'm in my just do it leader mode, which is my kick butt, let's get it done, everybody get out of my way, and I can't believe it took y'all so long to get there, that causes cloudiness, and it causes confusion, and it causes frustration in your people, and people to shut down.
Yeah.
And so owning your role is also owning, who are you? what is the role? What is your responsibility? And what is that hat? You've added some other hats to your conversation as well. The compliance hat. Well, really, that is being a boss and a leader, but it's also, you also can tie it to, and yes, sure, it's being a friend, but the core values of who we are and the work that we do and the safety comes first of our children. Compliance is necessary, and that leads, right? That is being a leader to bring that to the conversation. And what I love is that you figured out how to navigate the dialogue that you're having with a visual, whether it's tactical or not, there's a visual element, and you're using the audible with people to help shift the picture that they have, so they're not locked on to seeing you one way only.
Right.
Yeah. So what would you say from your perspective? What's your next? What comes next in this process? So you've nailed it. You're communicating more effectively. You're understanding the hats. You're understanding how to use them as a manager of 35, 38 people at any given time. What is it that you see as next in your journey? What would you say?
Well, I would say that like I had mentioned, like growing people is one of my favorites, watching people grow. And I do have a good number of staff who have committed to their own leadership journey. And so so having conversations with them, the back and forth, the practicing with them, um, is something that we work on here, and that I'd say like is a current next step for us, is bestowing the knowledge base and understanding that I have around this to the staff that I supervise. I do have coordinators in my program. I'm not the only supervisor. And so giving my coordination team the tools so that they can navigate those conversations, because they're in the same situation, of thinking that I was in, and that is that you have to lead a certain way in order to be perceived a certain way. Giving them in this conversations, and then sharing back like, yeah, that is a useful tool, and then practicing it with them. I believe that is where we're at, and I know maybe this conversation for another time, but just talking about like the situation, behavior, impact,
Mhm.
expectation while you're
Mhm.
wearing your hats, and like keeping it very clear and objective. Like that's just, it's very helpful in maintaining those values. If the values hat is very important to you, it's just a super useful tool, to provide the feedback, and that's where the staff can use it too. Like if they're talking to parents, if they're talking to other staff, like it's a tool that is helping everyone. And so just those who are wanting that leadership development, I think that's my next step, is working with the staff and the team so that they can know what I know.
I love that. That's amazing. And yes, situation, behavior, impact with the addition plus E, right? Plus expectation is giving the clarity, and no matter the hat that you're wearing. And I want to say it this way, because when it comes to kind of like the hat and who put it on you, where we started our conversation today, is you get assigned labels. And I've talked about this. You've heard me talk about, we can carry labels for a long time, like from childhood. Oh, you're a natural leader, but then you go into leading a team and it's not working because you're not connecting, you're not communicating clearly. Well, you didn't, just because you're a natural born leader doesn't mean you know how to lead. There's a difference, right? And
Right.
so who put that hat on you, that title, that label? If you are the boss and someone, you're the end all be all for the team, like the buck stops with you, that's great. But if you don't understand your core values, or the values that you want the team to follow and honor for the organization, or the services that you provide, then it doesn't matter what your boss hat says. But you got to go back to the who put it on you and why did you get it? Did you get it by default? Did you get it by earning it? All of these hats are really, none of them work without earning the respect of the people around you, from my
Right.
perspective. And there's a way, and to your point, in the environment that you work in, you don't get to just walk in. I know, because I've made that mistake where I'm like, oh, hey, I'm the coach consultant, I'm the trainer, and I'm going to teach y'all how. And I got shut down real quick because I was seen as someone who didn't understand the culture of the people, right? And when you're working, especially, within the the Quinault nation within a sovereign nation, it is about honoring and understanding the people and the history. And yes, all the hats still apply, but it's how you use them. And so, yeah, leading in with the values, leading in with the friend, sure. And then asking to have a bold conversation as a leader. Can I pull out the leader hat to have a really bold conversation? Because if we stay too long in friend, we're going to have some challenges. And I want to make sure that I'm bringing clarity, right? So when you go into your role, into your organization, to your team, you've had a hat put on you as manager, and you can own it and say, yep, I'm the manager. And sometimes that doesn't work, right? Within certain environments, you got to earn, there's a part of earning it because you earn that respect, but there's also that piece of saying, like, interchanging and preparing people that a change is coming. How do you change the hat when a change is coming? Because this is put on you, I'm the leader, but I get to go in and have a different kind of conversation. How do you change it?
Well, I think that you have to figure out which, you have to figure out which hat you're going to wear, right?
Mhm.
And which hat is going to make the most sense in providing that clarity, right? Because you're trying to be kind, and that's what our end goal is here. And so I think figuring out which hat it is, and then I know it sounds so simple, and until you try it, it really is simple. It is as simple as it sounds, and that's naming it to the person that you're having a conversation with, making it clear to them. And especially because I think about those who I wore the friend hat way too long. If you are in a situation where wearing the friend hat is the hat that you've dominated, and you recognize that, like, you want to shift that because it's no longer serving its purpose, um, I think that making it very clear in those conversations with those folks that that change is happening by, like we were saying, like physically removing the hat,
Right.
saying, I am taking off this friend hat, I am going to put on my leader or boss hat, and being actually physical about it. Because I think drawing the line between friend, boss, or friend, leader, there is kindness in that too, right? If this person perceives you as a friend, it is very important to make it clear to them
Yeah.
before that conversation takes place that that is not the hat that you are wearing any longer.
Correct. Because you've been put like a hat. When I come back to what hat has been put on you, right? But who put it on you? By title, position, you have the leader hat, or at some, or leader slash boss hat, because you're the boss of the 38 employees. And, yes, you have a boss above you, but right now, there's a directness that needs to happen. And when we get cloudy because we're being too friend zone, or we were out at the park with our kids last weekend and we had a great time at the barbecue, and now I have an issue with someone not showing up to work on time, and their tardiness has become an issue for the rest of the team, but I got to step into that very direct role. What's important is this has always been on you. This has always been on you by default of you're the manager, you're the leader. And this is what you brought with you. And sometimes it gets cloudy when you don't take the time to distinguish it, because owning this is what's going to also bring clarity, and letting people know, yep, last weekend I was talking to a manager. This was quite a while ago. Somebody we both know, who said, I was having a barbecue with this person, and we were sharing some beer and we were having a great time. And now I got to come into work because they supervise this person. Now I got to come into work and I got to be the boss with them because they don't have they don't have their work done on time, and they have a report that was due and I had to get it to the director, and now I'm getting called out for it, and they're expecting me to be the friend, and they don't want to. And I was like, stop, pause. What hat are you wearing? What hat do you need to wear to get the report in on time? And sometimes just by asking that question, because what was put on them, see, we can put this one on all day long because it's convenient, easy, comfort zone. These ones were put on us, right? Or it might be a label that isn't what we want. But when it's put on us, how do we own it? How do we step into it? Bringing that clarity and saying, this is what is, this is how I'm using it, and this is why, first starts with you, right? Me and my mirrors, get in the mirror, look at you. Who owns? I own it first. I got to get clear. This is what I get to be. Because if not, I'm going to continue to be frustrated. And so are they. And so are the ripple effect to the rest of the team if I'm not
Right.
clear on who I am.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So I'm wondering, when you talk about, and we're going to come to a close here with our second episode. I'm so grateful that you let me just play through the hats with you and talk through how you've used them. And if you were to write it on a sticky note and put it on every leader's desk, and it was a picture of a hat, what would you want the sticky note to say?
If it was a picture of a hat,
Yeah.
I combine leader with mentor just because I think that in order to hold yourself to a high standard of quality leadership, leading by example is a very good way to get there. But I also think that goes in hand for me with mentorship, having the passion to watch people go from what they were to what they are now, that growth. So my hat would be a leader / mentor hat, because I also feel yes, the boss, the friend, the avoider, those play in. But I think that for me, if I were to see the leader / mentor hat and focus on that for me, it keeps me from pulling that avoider hat. Like, recognizing the leader hat consistently keeps me from reaching for that avoider hat, keeps me from reaching for the friend hat because I want to feel comforted. So I would say that mine is leader / mentor.
Okay. That's what the hat says. But what is it that you would write then? What would the note be that you would write to the person with the sticky note, and you're putting it on their desk? It's got a picture of a hat and you wrote leader mentor on the hat. What would the message be?
Lead with clarity.
Love it.
And it seems so simple, but it's something that can actually complicate very quickly and can downward spiral very, very quickly as well. So lead with clarity, because I think that speaks volumes to many aspects of those hats and the rules that you're wearing and keeping them clear.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Kendall. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for spending time with me again in the sandbox. I'm grateful for the investment. I'm grateful for the just the heart and the passion that you have. I hear it all the time when I'm out there that people are like, "Oh, Kendall was talking about the hats again," and and I love that you are a champion of the hats and that they've worked so well for you. So thank you for that. I appreciate
Got
it.
it. Yeah, you
All
bet.
right, everybody. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Leadership Sandbox podcast. I'm Tammy J, your host, and excited that you joined me today for this part 2 series all about the hats and how you can use them to up level and upskill your leadership, your mentorship, and how you can use them to navigate some of those challenging conversations with your people that maybe you've been avoiding and you just don't want to. So for more resources, you can head on over to bondgroupenterprises.com. We've got plenty of resources there for you to learn how to up-level and upskill your next bold conversation. And hey, you might even be able to get yourself a set of hats. I'll see you the next time in the Leadership Sandbox. Thanks again. Make it a great day, and God bless.